Brought to you by...
I'm sure you all heard about it before it was released, and I know I'm late to the game on talking about it. But then again, when the hell have I ever done a video right when a film releases? I like to sit with my films for a bit, think on them, let them stew in my brain soup until I really have something to say. And I'm happy to report that it's time to discuss whatever the fuck this thing is. SKINAMARINK is a 2022 experimental horror film written, directed, and produced by Kyle Edward Ball. It gained attention for its unique approach to storytelling, evoking deep fear through atmosphere, ambiguity, and childhood nostalgia. The film's plot is minimal and deliberately vague, following two young siblings. After about a half-dozen financier logos, we are introduced to Kevin and Kaylee, who wake up one night to find that their father is missing, and their house's windows and doors are vanishing. As they navigate the dark, increasingly disorienting environment, strange phenomena begins to occur, including whispers, disembodied voices, and disappearing or altered furniture. Kevin becomes the primary focus as the film descends into surreal horror. The siblings are subjected to unexplainable forces, and the narrative becomes dreamlike, suggesting themes of loss, trauma, and fragility of memory. The production of SKINAMARINK is as unconventional as the film itself. Shaped by its micro-budget, the filmmaker's vision, and its experimental approach. Before SKINAMARINK, Ball ran a YouTube channel called Bite-Sized Nightmares, where he recreated nightmares submitted by viewers. This experience shaped his ability to visualize and convey surreal, dreamlike scenarios. This one is sort of a complex web to weed through, so I'll do my best to organize my thoughts here and not be too all over the place. The film was inspired by Ball's childhood fears and common nightmare tropes, such as losing one's parents, being unable to leave a house, or being surrounded by darkness. The film expands on Ball's 2020 short film, Heck, which also explores childhood trauma and surreal horror through minimalist visuals. The entire film was shot in Ball's childhood home in Edmonton, Alberta. This setting gave the movie an authentic sense of nostalgia and intimacy. The film avoids traditional framing, focusing on ceilings, corners, and other static liminal spaces. This deliberate approach creates a sense of unease and forces viewers to focus on sound and subtle movements. Lighting was minimal and often relied on natural or practical light sources, such as the glow of a TV or flashlight. The production was extremely small. Ball served as writer, director, producer, and editor. The child actors, Lucas Paul, who played Kevin, and Dali Rose Tatro, who played Kaylee, were kept on set for short periods due to their ages, and much of their dialogue was added in post-production. Voices of the parents were performed by Ross Paul and Jamie Hill. Ball edited the film himself, leaning into the grainy, degraded aesthetic to enhance the atmosphere. He intentionally manipulated the footage to make it look like it was from the 70s or 80s, evoking the feel of old analog recordings. Ball deliberately slowed the pacing and omitted key narrative details to mimic the fragmented, non-linear nature of nightmares. This choice polarized audiences, but created a unique sense of dread. As I have been saying, the cinematography is interesting to say the least. Framing choices are strange, never locked on to any one subject, but rather the empty spaces around them, leaving any characters either just out of frame, mostly cut off, or acting as disembodied voices, filling the space. The focus feels very evocative of abstract photography. placing the emphasis on visual images rather than any movement therein. It's kind of like we are viewing each frame through still photography, taken by a child with no real concept of how to capture an image, despite other moments of the film suggesting that we are witnessing these events through the eyes of the children themselves. Old-school filmmaking techniques seem to have been used to create the film's visual effects, such as superimposing shots together to create a disappearing door or window. There is a severe emphasis on darkness, voids of shadow in the areas of the house where light doesn't penetrate, playing into the absence of parental figures and the children's abandonment. This kind of transitions us into the themes that the film seems to be trying to convey. However, the meaning of SKINAMARINK is intentionally ambiguous, designed to evoke personal interpretation rather than provide concrete answers. However, several thematic readings have emerged based on the film's haunting imagery, disorienting atmosphere, and subtle narrative cues. The film captures primal fears, like being abandoned or left alone in the dark, through Kevin's perspective primarily. The father disappears early in the film, and the mother's presence is fleeting and menacing, suggesting a family torn apart by dysfunction. The story is filtered through Kevin's perspective, with the house's distorted layout reflecting a child's fear and confusion when left alone in dangerous or neglectful environments. These elements evoke the way children perceive trauma, as fragmented, incomprehensible, or overwhelming. In this context, the film could represent Kevin's psyche coping with a traumatic event, like parental separation, abuse, or loss of a sibling. Many have interpreted the narrative as such, as Kevin potentially processing the death of a parent, or maybe his own near-death experience after a head injury. The lack of explanation or resolution mirrors the way children perceive frightening and incomprehensible things. Some viewers interpret the film as an allegory for Kevin's death and journey into the afterlife, with the house representing limbo. Early in the film, we hear about Kevin falling and hitting his head, which could symbolize a fatal accident. The surreal events that follow might be Kevin's dying perception of his spirit trapped in limbo. The disappearance of doors, windows, and other objects reflect a gradual detachment from reality, as if Kevin's consciousness is dissolving. The film's erratic pacing and unexplainable time skips suggest the disorienting nature of death or being caught between life and the afterlife. The house itself can be seen as a symbolic limbo or purgatory, with Kevin's attempts to navigate its ever-changing darkness representing his struggle to understand his fate. You could also interpret this one as an exploration of memory, especially how children misremember or distort events. The film's structure mirrors the nonsensical flow of a nightmare, with objects disappearing, time warping, and logic all but breaking down. The vague dialogue and unclear events evoke how childhood memory can feel incomplete or blurry, especially when tied to traumatic and frightening experiences. The film evokes the aesthetic of old television and analog media, creating a dissonance between confronting childhood nostalgia and a pervasive sense of dread. This one also functions as a meditation on the terror of the unknown and the void. The house could represent the existential prison, with Kevin trapped in the dark, infinite, and indifferent cosmos. The lack of clear answers or explanations reflects the fear of an uncaring universe where events have no meaning or purpose. The malevolent presence in the house could symbolize death, entropy, or the inevitable decay of existence. This interpretation ties into cosmic horror tradition, emphasizing humanity's smallness and vulnerability in the face of an incomprehensible universe. Ball has explained that SKINAMARINK draws heavily from his own childhood fears, and some very common nightmare themes. In this sense, the film may not have a singular meaning, but instead aims to evoke universal feelings of fear and isolation. The house is Kevin's home, but its distorted appearance creates unease, mirroring how nightmares twist familiar places. Many viewers resonate with the childhood fear of waking up alone, unable to find their parents, or being left in the dark. In this way, SKINAMARINK is less about conveying a specific narrative and more about immersing viewers in a universal terror of feeling lost, abandoned, and powerless. What I found here was an exploration of trauma. Whether it be loss or abandonment, we are witnessing the events of this film from the perspective of a child, watching the pieces of his safety net, his home, slowly begin to disappear, as the walls of his safe place are stripped away. Even as a child, when a parent is suddenly gone from our lives, we can feel that things have changed, though we may not be able to understand how or why. So much of the film is presented in darkness, shadows flooding corners and doorways, creating a visual manifestation to the void that these children suddenly feel for their parents not being there. Objects being skewed in reality, hanging from walls or suspended from ceilings, as their world is turning upside down and they are unable to cope with it. The film has been compared to the works of David Lynch and other avant-garde horror filmmakers like Maya Deren. Its distinct, polarizing style has sparked discussion about what defines horror. I personally think that SKINAMARINK is a testament to how filmmakers can achieve powerful emotional and psychological effects with minimal resources, using mood and suggestion over explicit visuals or deeper stories. It's a film that is meant to be experienced, explored, and interpreted by all who seek it out. In many ways, it's not a film that is meant to be watched, but examined. Well, friends, that's going to be all for now. If you're interested in this film, I urge you to check it out for yourself and formulate your own thoughts and opinions about it. I hope you come share those thoughts in the comments. Let me know if there are any movies that you would like to see discussed on this channel. I always love to hear from you guys, and I do my best to try and respond to everyone. As always, I have put a link down in the description to a physical copy of the film, if one exists, so that you can add it to your collection. Using that link helps out the channel, and that is always appreciated. Furthermore, if you liked the video, I urge you to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you aren't already. I know many of you watching aren't yet subscribed, so help support the channel. Subscribe. If you'd like to go the extra mile and support the channel even more, we do have a Patreon. And if you sign up for our Rated R tier level, you can get yourself access to the ETF Digital Archive. We get a lot of compliments about the VHS collection that you guys see in the background of almost all of our videos. Well, we have been hard at work slowly digitizing that collection and creating a place where we can share it with all of you. Thanks to the help of the Plex platform, one of this channel's sponsors, we can now do just that. This is our way of doing our part to help preserve that gritty, nostalgic VHS look and feeling before it's gone forever. So as a special thank you for becoming a Rated R tier member, you will be added to our ETF Archive Plex server, so that you can stream our VHS collection from anywhere at any time. It's basically like having a streaming service for VHS, which I think is pretty cool. We also have a Mercari store, where you can go and get yourself a little piece of the ETF archive. While collecting VHS, Blu-rays, and DVDs over many years, we wind up with lots of duplicates, and we unfortunately can't store them all. So on our Mercari shop, we have those for sale. Purchasing those not only expands your collection, but makes room for us to expand ours. All the links for everything are down in the description. Until next time, stay safe, and as always, thanks for watching.